Join me now from Washington, D.C., media reporter for the Daily Caller, Shelby Talcott. Shelby, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Steph.
So, Shelby, I kind of described kettling, but if you could describe that for our audience.
Yeah, so kettling is essentially when police officers decide to sort of corner a group of protesters or rioters, depending on the situation, from all four sides, and they close in to not allow them to disperse, and then the police officers are given the opportunity to either arrest everybody or slowly release them. And in this incident in Louisville, they arrested everyone.
And in the video, in this introduction, I played the video of you actually being arrested. I remember that night I had been following your reporting on Instagram and on Twitter throughout the evening. And then when you got arrested, I was like, what in the heck? I hope she's okay. I assumed that you were going to be let go immediately after you were taken in because you are media and you have credentials and you were out there doing a job. Turns out you spent several hours in jail, I believe more than like 12 hours.
Yeah, I spent 16 hours total in jail from, the time of my arrest outside until my release. And I really do think it was, a failure of either the police department or the corrections facility, whoever is ultimately in charge of that, because, the caller did make it very clear that we were members of the media. One police officer actually told my coworker, Jorge Ventura, that he knew that we were press. And we were legitimate, but we were going to be charged and spend the night in jail, and we were both charged. So now we're fighting charges in Louisville.
So what's the next step? Are you taking legal action?
We're looking into our options. So the first step, of course, is to get the charges dropped. I had a hearing a few days ago where I pleaded not guilty to unlawful assembly and failure to disperse. And then I have another hearing in mid-October. So the first, the first step is getting the charges dropped, and then we can, begin to look into any other potential options.
Yeah, and you've been on this program a few times, and full disclosure here, we used to work together. But you had been covering a lot of these protests. If you've seen it all, you've been through a lot, you've been pushed, you've been shoved. You had been there in Kenosha when the man was shot. And so, again, you didn't imagine that you'd end up being arrested and thrown in jail.
Correct. I mean, we've been all over, just like you said, and we know the rules. Media are exempt. The LMPD actually sent an email to local media earlier in the day confirming that they were exempt from the curfew and exempt from unlawful assembly. So, we keep things low key because we have been attacked by protesters, and that whole thing with media and protesters is very volatile. But we are smart, and we, stay out of police officers' way. We listen to their directions, so I definitely did not expect to be arrested and then held for as long as I was.
Yeah, and my understanding is you weren't put in a single person cell. You were with a group of some of the protesters. Were you scared? I mean, especially being a reporter for the Daily Caller, and a lot of these people that are part of Black Lives Matter and Antifa, part of their strategy is to identify reporters that they would consider unfriendly. Most of them don't even want the press around right now because they don't want any of the potential crimes being committed captured on video. They don't want evidence of it. So did you feel like your life was in danger while you were sitting there? Because what if somebody recognized you and you were pretty much kind of sitting there alone?
Yeah, actually earlier in the night when we were all handcuffed together, we were sort of handcuffed together on a chain, and a police officer came and uncuffed me. And I thought at that moment that I was being released, and two girls next to me started cursing me out, asking who I was, why I was being released, and thinking that was going to be the end of the night, I just said, I'm a reporter. And I got more curses, and I ended up being in the cell with one of them. And they asked me, who do I work for? Which way do I lean? So I said I was a freelancer and tried to keep it very, basic, because I was worried. I was in with, I think, around 27 other girls for 16 hours, and they don't like the media. So.
Yeah. And I know that law enforcement had been concerned because some of the protesters in Antifa had been kind of posing as journalists so that they could kind of get away with what they were doing. And so I don't know if that was like part of their calculation in taking in journalists just to verify. But as you pointed out, you even called the editor and you are credentialed. So do you think that was part of it?
I think it definitely could have been part of it. I mean, we have seen these people posing as press, so I get that. And we didn't have our official press credentials on us, but it was I kind of was like, all right, we're going to be arrested. But as soon as the caller clears this up, which they did very quickly, we're going to be released. And so I don't think the initial arrest was really the failure, right? It's a tense situation. The police officer don't know exactly what's going on. But I think the failure was that upon confirming that we were reporters, they still did not release us.
Yeah. And again, you were out there doing a job showing what was going on after hours. And the Daily Caller is one of the few news organizations that's really been just reporting the truth. You're not picking sides. You're out there showing what's going on. You're not standing in front of buildings burning saying everything's calm. You're not even giving an opinion. You're literally just out there reporting on what's happening. And so we need more people doing that. That being said, will you continue to go out and report on the protests?
Absolutely. I mean, 2 days after I got released, I went back out for one last night in Louisville, and I fully expect to continue providing coverage for everyone because I think it's really important, and you're not hearing what's really going on from many other places.
Did you watch the first presidential debate?
Yes, I did.
Did you hear the part where Biden called Antifa just an idea? I think we have video of it. Roll it.
Somebody's got to do something about Antifa and the left, because this is not a right-wing problem. This is a left-wing. This is a left-wing problem.
White supremacist. Antifa's an idea, not an organization.
Oh, you got to be
not
kidding.
militia.
Shelby, what's your reaction to Biden calling Antifa an idea as somebody who's been out there reporting on the protests and riots?
I think it's really interesting because it is, we hear people say that all the time. And of course it is an idea, right? Anti-fascist, but it is also much more. If you go out on the ground and you're in these situations, Portland has a lot of people who are, Antifa. It's definitely more than just an idea. They are organized. They have tactics. They have communications. We've seen it, and we're just beginning to learn more about it. But it's already very clear that it is not just an idea, and that's evident in, tons of video footage that we have produced.
Yeah, absolutely. It's clearly not an idea. Maybe Biden needs to spend a little more time reading the Daily Caller. Well, Shelby, we're going to leave it here. Thank you.
Thanks, Steph.
Want to see more videos like this? Click on the link below and subscribe to One America News on YouTube. And call your cable provider and kindly demand that One America News is added to your lineup. Call and subscribe today.